out tonight for our little impromptu, we're calling it a town hall meeting. So feel comfortable to ask questions or stop me at any point. And we're just going to make it kind of informal questions and answers. Probably a little more towards the end, but if something pops up during the presentation, feel free to flag me and we'll take care of that. But like we do everything we do at Calvary, we're going to start with prayer. And so if you'll bow with me. Awesome Father in heaven, we thank you for another evening to get together and discuss these things. Just help give me wisdom as we speak and help the parents to understand the program as you presented it. Thank you for the program. We feel it's a nice thing to add to our school, and we just pray that everything we do tonight will be honoring and glorifying to you. We ask everything in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so my name is Scott Mullins. If I don't know you, I have been at Calvary Christian School for 3 years now, going into my 4th year. For my first 2 years, I was a teacher. And then last year, our financial manager decided he was going to retire. So they asked me to come in his place and kind of carry on that role. So I still have the privilege to teach one high school class 5 days a week. And so I can continue to do that. My wife also teaches at the school in K-5. So if any of your students are going into K-5, Mrs. Mullins is her name. So just so you know, you don't have to take any notes tonight because the entire presentation is actually on our school website. There is an ESTF tab you can click on and you can run through this entire, it's not an actual presentation, but all of the slides are there for your benefit in the future. Because we are going to go over a lot of information tonight, we might want to make sure that that is available to you. All right, so in my classes, the students always respond better with chocolate. So there might be a few questions tonight. So my first one is, does anybody know what ESTF stands for? Anybody know that? So we're all, Dustin, what are we thinking?
Education Scholarship Trust Fund.
Oh, that's it. That's right. All right, so Education Scholarship Trust Fund, but we like to call it the school of choice, and we appreciate you picking Calvary as your school of choice. So, class wallet. So we've got a lot of these terms, and sometimes they get intermingled. Class wallet, I just want to explain, that is the financial institution that the state has picked to distribute the funds. So sometimes I'll tell you, have you submitted your invoice to Class Wallet? That would mean that particular institution. You should have gotten instructions from ESTF to set up your Class Wallet account. Does anybody not have a Class Wallet account? Okay, so we need to investigate that. So in your link of acceptance, there should have been some instructions there to go in and do that. So to get any of the stuff we're going to talk about accomplished, you need to have a Class Wallet account. Has everybody submitted their acceptance letter to the school to let us know you're on the program? How about the contract? We're going to get to the contract in a second. So give me 1 second. All right, so Mr. Rowland is helping me out here. This is kind of how it works. The best way to explain it is this triangle. Down in the left lower corner is our vendors. Now, Calvary Christian School is a vendor, and there are a few other vendors on the site. I do recommend that you take some time and get familiar. There's a lot of ways to spend this money that the state gives you. School supplies, instruments, iPads, a lot of different things. Calvary Christian School tuition is one of those things. So we're going to call us a vendor. But this will, the same system is going to apply to any of the vendors that you choose. So if you want to go ahead and click 2 times. So Calvary Christian School is going to email you an invoice. So that invoice is going to go to the ESTF student or family, which is you guys. click. One more time. From there, you're going to need to upload that invoice to Class Wallet. So that's where that Class Wallet account is going to come into play. That's really your only responsibility for the invoice. Class Wallet then is going to send that money right to Calvary Christian School Bank. Once that hits our bank, then I will post that to your account, and that will credit your fax account appropriately for whatever the situation may be. Most of the time, it's going to be tuition. So, next slide, please. ESTF funds are going to come quarterly. So that's how they've decided to pay. My next question is, does anybody know how much you get from ESTF? Anybody know? Yes, ma'am.
Is it like 7,500?
7,500 is close. Does anybody have it? It's a weird amount, and we don't know why they do it, but what do you think?
I thought it was 65.
6,500 is too low. I'm sure of yourself. It actually is $7,634, but we're going to pay that. Come on down. All right, so quarterly. So that's going to mean these are the dates, and they probably have let you know these dates as well. For the first quarter, we're going to get those funds available July 31st and so on. Second quarter, September 30th, December 31st, and then our last quarter is February 28th. Go ahead and next slide. You should expect to get invoices from Calvary about 2 weeks prior to those dates. And the reason we give you a little extra time, if you go ahead and upload them, they'll put them in the account and get them kind of pending. And that way, when the funds are available, they'll switch them right to us. So it takes that delay time away. So here's our current, yes ma'am. So fax is not involved in the process. It is kind of confusing because that's how they had you apply for ESTF. But that made it kind of confusing. So it goes Calvary to family to wallet back to Calvary, and then Calvary is going to post fax.
I know, I just want to make sure all the other years were billed by fax, that's like shut off.
Yes, so when you sent me your acceptance, I switched all your billing to quarterly. And that's why I want to make sure I've got everybody's, if you're still set up, if you're not set up under ESTF, you're going to get monthly, which was traditional for families who are not on the scholarship. But as long as you are, and we'll get to this in 1 second, as long as you are submitting those invoices by the time, you should have no problem with fax. So here's the breakdown of our fees this year. If you have K5 through 6th grade, it's $6,000. So that's $7,634. You'll have $1,600.34 to spend. $1,634 to spend in some of those other categories. Now, some of you, is everyone here a first-time ESTF year? Is anybody? Second year? All right, so second years, we may have already discussed this because I fielded some questions. You're allowed to pay program fees out of the money, but Calvary has instituted a rule that if you don't have funds available when things are due, then they would be your responsibility. So those who were on last year, if you have money left over, we can use that for program fees this year. What I recommend to the rest of you is save. We're going to try to keep these program fees the same or less next year. Save those amounts so that next year when those come due, you can put those through at that time. We had some families last year who spent their money elsewhere, and now the program fees are due, so they are having to pay those out of pocket. Does everybody kind of see how that's going? So if you're budgeting your class wallet, maybe hold back some funds if you plan on spending it on program fees next year. So any questions on that real quick? Because that's kind of a biggie. Yes, sir.
Could we add, or could Calvary add a fee that would include field trips and all that other incidental stuff so that we can pay for it out of these extra funds?
That may be a possibility. The problem that we have with field trips is like the 5th grade field trip may be a $20 expense. kindergarten might have had a $2 expense. So it's hard to, if you're kind of making a level playing field. However, we did add in for the first time in our junior high and high school, we have our spiritual emphasis trips. So any junior high or high schoolers, if you've paid for those in the past, you don't have to pay for those separately this year. They're part of the program fee. So we are kind of working towards that, but we are working out some of the kinks, but those are included this year because class wallet will not cover if we send in a field trip. They call that extracurricular, not part of the program yet. Now we found out they constantly change some rules, so never say never. Another candy bar. You said most of you have filled out the contract. What does the contract state? Why are we filling out a contract between a parent and child? The ideas.
So the parents know what they're responsible for if they don't get paid for the.
Yes, if you spend all of your money elsewhere, which you have the opportunity to do, you still have an obligation to Calvary for whatever is due to Calvary, okay? So, budget wisely. I'm not telling you how to spend your money, but if it comes up program fees next year and you have not held back that, you would have that responsibility. Entirely up to you. All right, so this is our fees. Let's look, next slide, please. This is how the distribution is going to look. Quarter one, you're going to get $1,908. We need you to submit that by August 5th to Class Wallet, otherwise you will incur a late fee. So believe it or not, we have some families who get the invoice and do not submit it, therefore we don't get the funds. So we do need that small responsibility from you guys. August 5th is our deadline on that first round, otherwise it's a $35 late fee. Kind of traditionally for what they did with fax. But you should get the invoices in plenty of time to get that handled. Next slide. So quarter two, it's going to be July 31st, $1,900. And oh no, this is an example. I'm sorry. I'll go through the example first. So if you have an elementary student at Calvary, you're going to get $1,900.08 from ESTF for Class Wallet. Your invoice is $1,800, so you have $108 left on that particular example. Some of the high schools are a little more expensive, but your total due is still just $1,800. So that $100.08 can sit in there, or you can use it for other things in the marketplace if you would like. All right, now we'll go to quarter two. I'm sorry, they're slipping in extra slides. Always a question if you have multiple students, so you do have to submit for each individual student. So Mr. Rowland has quite a slew to submit for. The other question I get asked a lot is if one student has spent more money, is it possible to use another student, another child's for theirs? We feel no. We don't feel that that is ethically correct. The scholarship was given to each individual child, so it should stay within that boundary. So even if you get an overage somewhere, I'm not allowed to really credit another account. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'll stretch.
Okay. So quarter two, 1908 again. This time it's only November and December tuition. That one's going to be due by October 5th. October 5th. And again, these dates are all on the website. If you, but my rule of thumb is if you get an email from us with the invoices, take that 2 minutes or whatever, upload that right to Class Wallet. You won't have to worry about it. And then quarter three is January 8th. That's going to be for January, February, and March tuition. And quarter four, March 5th, and that is for April and May. So that's kind of the breakdown of how the quarters will run in the invoicing that you get. All right, so how do we upload to Class Wallet? So next slide. So if you do have an account, I don't know if you jumped on to kind of measure the dashboard, but this is kind of how it looks. So up in the corner, you can see your balance 1908. There's the marketplace tab where you can research other things to buy. But for Calvary invoicing, you want to go down to click pay. And next slide, that's gonna bring up this. You're gonna have to type in the word Calvary. Now, there's unfortunately right now, three other Calvaries, so make sure you pick Myrtle Beach, which currently is in the middle of those three. So you'll pick Calvary there, and then here's where whatever the invoice says, and this, some people have a little trouble with this. If it says 1,800 for tuition, make sure you put 1,800 there, and then there's never a service fee from Calvary. And this is where you're going to upload the file. So you get to the point where it says browse files, and then if you took our email and dropped it like in your desktop or into a folder that's labeled ESTF, make sure you go to that and just drop that invoice right in there. Next slide. Important here. So the only thing really for Calvary, I believe, although actually no. So this particular one is for tuition and fees. Mr. Rowland, is there anything for like sports or is that the only one we ever picked?
I think we only pick up that first one.
All right, so tuition and fees for the school. And then the last page, I believe, is like a summary page just to make sure you've done it all correct. There should be some sort of, not always, but most of the time, there's going to be an invoice number for reference. I'm trying to make sure that all the invoices have invoice numbers so we get the proper, sometimes you can have multiple things coming in from Class Wallet at one time, and it's like, what was that designated for? So this is your summary page. And it pretty much, make sure you read through that, make sure everything's correct before you submit it. They are very particular. If something is off just a little bit, they'll reject it, and then it turns into timing issues sometimes. Also, if you get low on funds and say you owe for the last quarter of tuition and it's going to be $1,800, but you have $1,600 left, please call me and I will get you a bill for $1,600. If we try to bill it for $1,800, they will reject it. If we bill it for $1,600, they'll just pay that, and then you would have the $200 responsibility out of pocket. So I've had a couple families, maybe even in this room, that we've adjusted program fees or something to that extent. There was one person for $400, so I made the invoice $400, and then they were responsible for the other $200. All right, next slide, please. Any questions on Class Wallet? It might take a little bit to get used to that, but once you do it a couple times, yes, ma'am.
Where's the contract? Do we need to print out a contract? Did you send it to us? Maybe I missed it.
You possibly could have, but see me after and I can send you one, or I can print one off this evening.
To clarify, we should say back to the email and submit the entire email as an invoice.
So for this, when it goes to upload, just the invoice that's attached to the email. So it'd be like a file.
PDF file.
Yeah, PDF file. Most of the ones I send will be PDFs. In fact, I think they all have to be.
That's something that we will change going forward. Like, I have not been receiving yet. I don't know.
What have you submitted so far?
I haven't submitted anything so far.
So I've not sent quarter one out yet. We have to kind of wait for the timing. So I would expect that maybe the second week of July. We also have found out if you send it too early, sometimes they reject it that way. So we want to make sure we're within their window so they don't have too much. So you'll get an email with a PDF. If you have multiple students, it would have multiple PDFs. All right, so what does it currently cover? So here's the things at Calvary if you have other things besides tuition and program fees that you want to utilize. Our summer day camp. So I'm going to say this gently. The first year we did this, they pushed those through it, no problem. This year we got a little bit of feedback from them saying we had to prove that was an educational part of our school. So we named our day camp to Summer Educational Program, and this year those went through. If any of your students happen to have to go to summer school, we can also add that on. So those will be things in the summer. As far as right now, they are covered. Of course, the following year's enrollment and program fees, which we went over if you want to bank that money. Sports fees. This includes even archery. So I don't know if anybody had archers in the crowd or any of our high school and middle school sports we can put through as well. So any of those fees. What I would ask you though, because I don't know whose families are playing sports, if you get or sense that there's going to be a sports fee and you want to put it on ESTF, make sure you contact me and I'll make you an invoice for that. Because not everybody, if you did all of the sports and everything we ask, I don't think there's enough in the class wallet. School supplies are available through Marketplace, and there are some other things you can look through. I don't believe our uniforms are yet, but that has been something we've really been telling them that would be nice to add. The only downside is they say that in public education, they don't have to buy those for students, so currently they're not doing that. Any invoices, just feel free to email me. My email, if you can see it's on there, it'll be on the next page too. And then we talked before, you can roll over. So if you decide to save for some of the summer things or next year's program fees, that money does not go away currently. If we catch any wind that that's gonna expire, we will let you know, but currently it's a continuous rollover. We also are hoping, so the 3 years that we've been part of the program, the amount they're giving us keeps going up, and they also keep opening up to more and more families. So we're recommending anyone who applies at Calvary at least apply for it so they know there is a need for people who pay their tax money to have school of choice, where instead of just paying for something they're not utilizing, they have the opportunity to designate where that goes. All right, last slide is going to be informational. So that's our front office and my email and our hours throughout the school and for the summer. Dustin, what we got?
Yeah, school supplies on there. Is there a way we can pay for school supplies, or do we need to go and buy school supplies and then turn them in?
So I believe one family told me Staples is one of the vendors, and I believe they work at, do you know, shed any light on that?
No, you can't submit anything for reimbursement, but there's online stores. If you go to vendors,
Yeah, the
you can find
marketplace.
Best Buy, you can find Office Depot and Staples, and you can find paper, pens, notebooks, things like that.
Right, but we can't just pay Calvary and y'all just get whatever supplies y'all want.
We'd love you to. So
No, I don't.
now, if we had a school bookstore, which maybe in a while, I don't know.
Okay.
But there might be down the road something, but currently no. You would have to go through one of those vendors. Yes, sir.
Those vendors too also give you a discount from
A discount, what was the second part?
the vendors give you a discount and then just mail all the stuff to you.
Yes, yes. They ship it right to you from my understanding.
Yeah.
Sometimes they even throw in some extras, some of the sales. Any other questions? I know we went through a lot in a short period of time. But does anybody have a spot where they're, again, informal, feel free to ask anything. Your question is probably somebody else's question who's too scared to ask it, so.
In class wallet, is there any way, is there an app you can get on your phone and get class wallet?
I believe so. Is that, anybody use an app? I don't know that for sure, but I could definitely find out. I would be surprised in today's technology if there was not, but that's a great question. I'll see if I can get the answer for you. Because that would be nice. Yes, ma'am.
Do I understand that the class wallet fund will only cover sports fees for school?
So we have had some jumpstart programs. I would have to ask. We did not have many last school season because we didn't have the staff and some of the things. So if that does arise, so I know our cheerleading sport has started. I think she has some fifth graders, so we were able to get that through. I believe if we called it elementary basketball program or whatever the soccer program, we probably could do it. But I don't know if that's in place yet. So, but we definitely, if we're offering something, I always present that to our ESTF people. They're very helpful on how we can try to get that through if possible.
Sending in the Iowa testing scores on the questionnaire, it questioned whether they had had tests throughout the year. I didn't know the answer to this, I just said I know.
So at Calvary, we do the Iowa testing that goes through ninth grade, and then we have the PSAT and the ACT and SAT. So all of those tests are done at Calvary and
But they don't test them 4 times a year here, right?
4 times,
They test them
1 time, and I think that is the.
That was a strange,
I think we only have to do
There's
one.
a place on ESTF that asks for
wow.
quarterly assessments,
Oh.
which would be like a report card, but I don't think you have to do both. So when we submitted Iowa State, I think that goes ahead of the quarterly assessments.
Okay.
And so we uploaded all of those
Yeah,
for the school, so I don't think you have to upload
Okay.
your quarterly report
Well,
card.
I didn't upload the quarterly, but I uploaded the Iowa, and when I was going through that questionnaire, I'm like, I don't know what it's like.
Right.
Didn't say report card.
No, they just said this is for some other programs that do quarterly assessments, mainly the younger grades.
Okay.
They had a homeschool grouping that was, people were trying to find out how to show progress,
Okay,
but Iowa State was sufficient.
as long as I'm official.
And on your point, we do that for you. So if you were on ESTF last year, those have been uploaded. Now, if there's any family that is new to Calvary but needs, but we wouldn't have their test results. So, but anybody who was in ESTF last year, I did already upload those scores. So, yes, ma'am. That was your question.
I did it too.
If you come across, so our representative there, I called her to make sure she could see everybody and everything. If we miss somebody, let me know and I'd be happy to do that. But I think she kind of double checked for us. It doesn't say we didn't miss someone. So if you come across that they say they don't have your score, let me know and I'll send it. The more and more you use the program, the easier and easier it will become. But I know it took us a little while to kind of see how the process operates, but I think we're getting it down. And I can tell you we're continuing to fight for more and more things to get approved. We think it's a great program for the school and for yourselves. Like I said, so you can utilize those funds that you pay for. We're hoping they follow, I believe it's Florida and North Carolina have gone to 100% school of choice. So we're hoping maybe all of our families would have the same opportunity. But we don't, we tried to get a little insight, but they're not saying much as of right now. So
It's being discussed a lot over the legislative body. It's one of my past bosses, the state senator, he actually called them.
oh, nice, very nice. And that would be another avenue to
And
let
he
them know.
said that any of the letters that we send in as far as parents or grandparents talking about how good the program is for our families, that actually read those on the floor, which surprised me. I thought he was probably got big somewhere, but they said they did read it.
That's a great point. All right. Anything else before we go? Again, my door is always open. My phone's always there. Email. For now, I think I'm the avenue to ESTF. We're working on maybe something else, but we will let you know if anything changes. All right. I appreciate you stopping out. We'll just close out prayer and get you on to your dinner. Father in heaven, I thank you for each and every family represented here. Just help us as we look forward to the 26-27 school year. Just help it to be everybody's best year ever. Honor and glorifying you, putting you number one in our lives. Pray for the students as they're in summer mode. Just help them to keep focused on you. Bring everybody back safe in the fall. We ask everything in Jesus' name. Amen.